Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki, with his perfected Sage Mode, became an incredibly powerful warrior. After Jiraiya's death, Naruto learned the Sage Mode technique from Fukasaku at Mount Myoboku, which helped him surpass his personal limits. Sage Mode is a special power that not only enhances strength, but also provides abilities that few can achieve. Sage Mode grants Naruto high endurance, allowing him to fall off a cliff without sustaining any injuries. With Sage Jutsu Chakra, Naruto was able to lift a giant frog statue, showcasing the extraordinary strength he gained from Sage Mode. In this state, he could easily throw Kurama into the air, and, during his fight with Pain, effortlessly toss aside one of Pain's summons, the one that looked like a rhino. While in Sage Mode, Naruto can use natural energy to create Senjutsu Chakra. This energy not only enhances Naruto's body, but also forms a natural energy aura around him. This aura acts as an extension of his body, allowing Naruto to strike his opponents even when it seems like his attacks don't connect. This technique is known as Frog Kata. With Frog Kata, Naruto can attack opponents without physically touching them. We can see Naruto use it to defeat Pretapath, one of Pain's strongest bodies. By the end of chapter 430, Fukasaku acknowledged that Naruto had surpassed his predecessor, Jiraiya. After forming a partnership with Kurama, Naruto was able to combine Sage Mode with Tailed Beast Mode. When these two powers merged, Naruto's eyes became unique, with the red glow turning into orange, and the pupils of the Nine Tails blending with the characteristic eyes of Sage Mode, creating a cross-like design. This combination gave Naruto immense power, far surpassing each ability on its own, enabling him to fight against powerful opponents like Obito Uchiha, who wielded the power of the Ten Tails. Jiraiya was taught how to use senjutsu by Fukasaku before Naruto. When using senjutsu, Jiraiya could enhance his speed, endurance, and physical strength, which were crucial in facing powerful opponents. However, he did not fully master Sage Mode. Because of this, Jiraiya's appearance in Sage Mode became distinctive, with frog-like features, a larger nose, warts, rough skin, and longer limbs. Despite this, his frog-like legs gave him the ability to jump higher and move more agilely in battle. Sage Mode not only made Jiraiya stronger, but also allowed him to use more powerful ninjutsu, like the Ultra Big Ball Rasengan, an advanced technique he could perform in this state. However, maintaining Sage Mode during a fight was not an easy task. Sage Mode has a time limit, and Jiraiya needed to periodically gather more natural energy to maintain this state. To enter Sage Mode, Jiraiya had to stay completely still to gather natural energy, which left him vulnerable to attacks. To solve this problem, Jiraiya summoned Fukasaku and Shima, two legendary toads from Mount Myoboku, and worked with them so they could help him gather natural energy while he continued fighting. This allowed him to maintain his power without running out of energy. In addition to helping with gathering natural energy, Fukasaku and Shima could also combine their techniques with Jiraiya, creating incredibly powerful attacks. A prime example is the Sage Art, Gomen, a combined technique between Jiraiya and his allies, which unleashed devastating wide-range attacks. Minato Namikaze, one of the greatest ninjas in the Naruto world, learned Sage Mode at Mount Myoboku, just like Jiraiya and Naruto. However, unlike his peers, Minato did not use Sage Mode frequently in battle. The reason lies in his unique fighting style, which was heavily based on the Flying Thunder God technique and Rasengan. These techniques allowed Minato to fight with incredible speed and agility, dominating battles from the start without relying on Sage Mode. Despite this, Minato's ability to use Sage Mode was still impressive. He could enter Sage Mode instantly and quickly harness natural energy to achieve the state of a true sage. However, Minato himself recognized that Sage Mode did not suit his fighting style due to the time required to gather natural chakra. To enter Sage Mode, a user needs to gather natural energy over a certain period, and this time must be maintained to keep Sage Mode stable. This was a significant issue for Minato because his combat style was all about speed and agility. With his constant, fast-paced fighting, Minato didn't have enough time to gather natural energy, making it difficult for him to sustain Sage Mode for long periods. However, if he summoned Fukasaku and Shima, like Jiraiya did, this weakness could be completely overcome. That said, he probably didn't need to do so, because he never faced an opponent strong enough to force him to use this technique. For Minato, battles usually ended too quickly, making Sage Mode unnecessary. Hashirama. Sage Mode is a special reaction of the body when absorbing natural energy. Each user of Sage Mode usually partners with an animal, and the form of their Sage Mode reflects that animal. For example, Naruto partners with frogs, and Kabuto with snakes. But what about Hashirama? If you look closely at his image, you'll see he doesn't resemble any animal. Hashirama actually developed Sage Mode on his own. To this day, no one else has been able to do the same. Hashirama's Sage Mode isn't the result of any contract with an animal, but is a unique blend of himself and natural energy. Hashirama Senju possesses an enormous amount of chakra. Thanks to this abundant chakra, he can use Sage Art and enter Sage Mode, a capability Hashirama can activate instantly, without any delay. In Sage Mode, Hashirama has distinctive features, including black markings around and under his eyes, as well as on his forehead. With his wood release Kekkei Genkai, he can ride on his wood techniques, allowing him to attack while maintaining the stillness needed to continuously gather natural energy and sustain Sage Mode. The combination of Sage Mode and wood release makes Hashirama an almost unbeatable opponent. This fusion not only enhances the power of his wooden constructs, but also makes them incredibly massive and powerful, capable of overwhelming even the greatest foes. An example of this is the Sage Art wood release, True Several Thousand Hands, a technique that unleashes a barrage of powerful punches, strong enough to defeat Madara's Susanoo, and even force the Nine Tails to retreat. This technique also contributed to the formation of the Valley of the End, where the decisive battle between Hashirama and Madara took place. Hashirama Senju is one of the most powerful ninjas in history. Without the intervention of God Mode characters like Naruto, Sasuke, and Madara, Hashirama could very well be the strongest shinobi of all time. Jugo. Jugo doesn't use Sage Mode in the traditional way like Naruto or Jiraiya. Instead, he and his clan possess a special ability related to natural energy called Sage Transformation. This technique allows him to absorb natural energy and transform his body at will. This ability enables Jugo to change the shape of his body instantly and focus on specific parts, creating flexible and effective transformations in battle. However, continuously absorbing natural energy comes with a downside. Jugo and his clan often experience uncontrollable bursts of rage. This is their biggest weakness, making them prone to losing control in tense situations. This lack of control makes Jugo dangerous not only to his enemies, but also to his allies. In his first appearance, Jugo transformed his left arm into a piston-like hammer, increasing the power of his punches. Later, he transformed it into a giant axe to counter Suigetsu's sword. During the battle with Killer Bee, Jugo used enhancements on his arms to throw his teammates far and deliver even more powerful punches. When fully transformed, Jugo gains immense overall strength, but loses control of himself, becoming aggressive and dangerous. The most obvious signs of this state are his altered voice and darkened skin. In this form, Jugo shows incredible resilience, able to withstand attacks from the Fourth Raikage. Even after having his arm and chest pierced, he could immediately counterattack. Jugo and his clan's abilities are the source of Orochimaru's Cursed Seal technique, which was created from Jugo's fluids and injected into selected targets. Unlike those with the Cursed Seal, Jugo isn't limited to a single transformation. He can adapt and change his form to suit different battle situations. Kabuto. Kabuto learned Sage Mode at Ryuchi Cave, the dwelling place of the White Snake Sage. It was here that Kabuto absorbed natural energy and enhanced his strength. However, to achieve this state, Kabuto didn't just learn from the White Snake Sage, but also conducted numerous experiments on his own body. He absorbed the DNA of several powerful individuals, including Orochimaru and Jugo. Jugo's natural ability to absorb natural energy helped Kabuto easily maintain Sage Mode permanently. We saw Kabuto use Sage Mode during his battle with Itachi and Sasuke. At that time, he also possessed rapid regenerative abilities thanks to Karin's DNA and the body fluid manipulation technique from Suigetsu. This allowed Kabuto to escape from most dangerous situations. With these powers, it would be incorrect to say that Itachi easily defeated Kabuto. In Sage Mode, Kabuto could fight without needing to see, and he was also capable of using water-style techniques strong enough to overpower the Uchiha's regular fire style. Additionally, the Susanoo of the two Uchiha brothers couldn't resist Kabuto's sound-based genjutsu. Well, he's certainly a strong opponent for the Uchiha, but facing off against two Uchiha geniuses at once was probably too much for Kabuto. Mitsuki. Since Mitsuki was created from Orochimaru's DNA, he naturally possesses Sage Transformation, a technique borrowed from Jugo's Kekkei Genkai. Orochimaru forced him to enter Sage mode through multiple experiments. After each failed attempt, Orochimaru erased Mitsuki's memory, and it wasn't until the sixth attempt that Mitsuki activated Sage mode due to emotional pressure. Instead of learning from mystical sages, Mitsuki's Sage mode was the result of Sage Transformation, making the method of obtaining this power unnatural. Mitsuki has used Sage mode in several secret battles, revealing only a small portion of his senjutsu abilities. Since his Sage mode is the result of Sage Transformation, he doesn't need to gather senjutsu chakra through meditation and concentration. The main strength of Mitsuki in this state is his incredibly fast speed. When entering Sage mode, Mitsuki is surrounded by a cloak of chakra, often accompanied by a swarm of snakes. These snakes extend Mitsuki's attack range and can even bite opponents automatically. Orochimaru has remarked that this state of Mitsuki surpasses even the legendary Sannin. Mitsuki grows a horn on his forehead and scales appear on his face, reflecting the Snake Sage mode state. In addition to enhanced speed and agility, Mitsuki gains superior strength and endurance under the influence of Sage Transformation. His soft physique modification is also enhanced, allowing him to stretch his body much farther than before. Mitsuki didn't learn Sage mode from sages. His power comes from the genetically altered Sage Transformation. This makes his strength unstable, as his body cannot handle the strain of both Sage mode and Sage Transformation for extended periods. However, over time, Mitsuki has strengthened his ability to endure the side effects of Sage mode. He can maintain this state for longer periods without causing severe damage to his body. Still, the potential risks of Sage mode remain. Currently, Mitsuki's Sage mode is a volatile power, but it continues to be his trump card in critical situations. Fukasaku and Shima. Fukasaku and Shima are two toads from Mount Myoboku, masters in the art of sage techniques. They are a married couple, and within the hierarchy of Mount Myoboku, they rank just below the Great Sage Toad, showing their important role in the toad community there. The state enhanced by natural energy allows Fukasaku to significantly increase his muscle strength. He demonstrated this strength when he was able to lift a gigantic toad statue, which weighed many times more than himself, and even throw Gamabunta a great distance. According to Gamakichi, Fukasaku has the ability to accumulate a large amount of natural energy and control it completely in the blink of an eye. This shows his mastery and deep knowledge of the field. Not only are they skilled in using sage techniques, but Fukasaku and Shima are also excellent teachers. They taught Jiraiya and later Naruto, helping them master Sage mode. The couple's assistants played a key role in helping these two ninjas achieve great accomplishments, making Sage mode an important part of their journeys. In addition to being skilled teachers, Fukasaku and Shima also possess many formidable special techniques. They use sound-based illusion techniques that can confuse, paralyze, or incapacitate their enemies. Furthermore, they are proficient in elemental techniques like wind, fire, and water, making their skill set both diverse and powerful. Speaking of sage technique instructors, let's move on to White Snake Sage. The White Snake Sage, the leader of the Snake Clan in Ryuchi Cave, is a mystical and powerful being. With the form of a giant albino Japanese snake, her size far exceeds that of any human, creating a truly impressive presence. She also wears a necklace with a green gem around her neck, similar to the one worn by the Great Toad Sage. Having lived in this cave for a long time, the White Snake Sage's body has become one with the earth, forming a deep connection with her surroundings. As a sage, she possesses vast knowledge of sage techniques and has the ability to teach others these secrets. She can inject natural energy into another person's body by using her fangs. At one point, Orochimaru discovered the location of Ryuchi Cave through his research into the special powers of Jugo and began learning sage techniques under the guidance of the White Snake Sage. Unable to achieve Sage mode, he developed an alternative method to use Sage chakra through cursed seals. Later, Kabuto Yakushi also discovered Ryuchi Cave and received teachings from the White Snake Sage. Under her guidance, Kabuto learned sage techniques and eventually mastered the use of Sage Mode. In Boruto, similar to the subordinates who are responsible for testing in the cave, the White Snake Sage has the ability to use genjutsu to make others experience illusions. She can use this ability to convey the thoughts of other snakes to outsiders, while also hiding her true form. What's special is that she often appears as an old woman, creating a perfect disguise and adding to the mystery of her identity. Gamakichi. Gamakichi is a frog from Mount Myoboku and the eldest son of Gamabunta, as well as the older brother of Gamatatsu. Gamakichi is Naruto Uzumaki's personal summon and plays an important role in many major battles. Gamakichi has the ability to use the reverse summoning technique, which allows him to summon Naruto to Mount Myoboku quickly and accurately. As a resident of Mount Myoboku, Gamakichi has mastered sage techniques, enabling him to sense and control natural energy. In addition to his sage abilities, Gamakichi combines this power with his natural transformation skill from water style to use the sticky glue gun technique, creating a thick layer of water to attack his opponents. This is a unique technique that allows him to control both offensive and defensive aspects in battle. In the anime version, Gamakichi also demonstrates the ability to use fire style, including the fire bullet technique, and teams up with his younger brother Gamatatsu and Naruto to perform a combined attack called Wind Style, Fire Oil Bullet Frog. The combination of fire and oil creates a powerful attack that burns everything in its path. Unfortunately, his sage technique abilities are not showcased very much. Koji Kashin. Koji Kashin is a clone of Jiraiya created by Amato Sanzu with the sole purpose of killing Ishiki Otsutsuki. Once a key member of the Kara organization, Koji was responsible for managing the outer territories of the Fire Country. In the 3 years after Boruto Uzumaki was forced to leave the Hidden Leaf Village due to his life being completely altered, Koji became Boruto's new mentor, helping him in the journey to defeat Code and the God Trees. Koji's strength is considered extraordinary, as evidenced by his ability to easily overpower and defeat one of the top jonin from the Hidden Leaf Village. In the anime, even the 6th Hokage admitted that Koji was a formidable opponent, difficult to handle. Unlike Jiraiya, Koji is able to use Sage Mode perfectly and instantly. This is clearly shown through his eyes, which have green irises and black outlines, typical of a frog, with no other noticeable changes to his appearance. Koji's sage technique enhances his physical strength and sensory abilities significantly, allowing him to keep up with Ishiki Otsutsuki's attacks and even hold him off for a short time before quickly counterattacking. Not only is Koji powerful in hand-to-hand combat, but his ninja techniques are also greatly enhanced by Sage Mode. One of the standout techniques he uses is Sage Art, 5 Fire Gods Windwheel, an attack with immense power, strong enough to pressure Ishiki and catch him off guard with the massive amount of fire Koji unleashes.
Toad Sage Mode. Toad Sage Mode is the most commonly used Sage Mode in the story. That's right, it's the mode used by Naruto, Minato, Jiraiya, and even Hagoromo. Because it's the most popular mode, it's also the one with the most information available. To achieve Toad Sage Mode, you have to reach Mount Myoboku, a place that's not easy to access because it exists in a different dimension from the rest of Earth. Most people would never find it without special guidance, like Jiraiya did. He was able to find Mount Myoboku after being reverse summoned there while trying to summon a creature. This wasn't simple, and even Jiraiya paid a price for being unprepared. Once you've made it to Mount Myoboku, the learning process becomes much easier. The toads there will teach you how to achieve a state of absolute stillness, which is crucial for absorbing and merging with natural energy. You have to stay completely still, so your body doesn't fall off a flat board placed on top of a tall pillar. To do this, you must avoid even the slightest movement. However, there's something special that the toads at Mount Myoboku use, a unique oil that helps users absorb natural chakra without doing anything extra. When applied to the skin, this oil automatically draws in natural energy. The unique thing about this oil is that it only works on Mount Myoboku because of the special air there. Once you leave the mountain, the oil evaporates instantly and loses its effect. When you've fully merged with natural chakra and can create senjutsu within your body, all your basic stats are enhanced, from taijutsu and ninjutsu to sensory abilities. However, after a while, you'll need to stop and absorb natural energy, which requires absolute stillness. In long battles, this isn't feasible. Jiraiya, who wasn't a perfect sage, used the Sage Art amphibian technique to overcome this weakness. This technique involved the two toads, Shima and Fukasaku, merging with Jiraiya. They could continuously gather natural energy for him, something he couldn't do while moving. This effectively eliminated the weakness of Sage Mode, where you typically have to stay still to gather natural energy. Aside from Jiraiya, the Toad Sages can also perform many special techniques. One of the common techniques we see is the Fighting Tongue Bind, where Shima, extends her tongue to its maximum length, using it to chase, bind, or attack enemies. Another technique is the Demonic Illusion, Toad Confrontation Chant. This is a genjutsu that requires Ma and Pa to sing a special song. Anyone who hears the song is trapped in the genjutsu until Ma and Pa release them. However, the downside of this technique is that it takes a considerable amount of time to activate. Therefore, you need an ally to hold off the enemy while the technique is being performed. Especially, Toad Sage Mode significantly enhances taijutsu. When using Sage Mode, all the user's abilities, strength, and reflexes are boosted, making taijutsu an extremely effective fighting style. However, even with superior speed and power, opponents might still evade your attacks. This is where Frog Kata comes into play. When using Frog Kata, Sage Chakra surrounds the user's body, creating a layer of natural energy. This energy layer acts as an extension of the body and is invisible to anyone who hasn't trained in senjutsu. This allows the user to extend the range and force of their physical attacks. Even strikes that seem to miss the target can still inflict damage thanks to this energy layer. Therefore, it's a very difficult technique to counter unless one can sense senjutsu chakra, making Toad Sage Mode one of the most powerful and unpredictable modes.
Snake Sage Mode. Similar to Toad Sage Mode, you can learn sage techniques by going to Ryuchi Cave and training under the White Snake Sage. However, learning sage techniques here is not easy, and it's certainly not any easier than at Mount Myoboku, mainly because snakes are inherently less friendly than toads. According to legend, anyone who wants to learn must prove their strength and skills by overcoming the challenges set by the snakes in Ryuchi Cave. This is a life or death test, where candidates must fight and survive. After that, they must endure a bite from the White Snake Sage. This bite allows the natural energy of Snake Sage Mode to be infused into the person wanting to learn, but if the candidate cannot withstand it, they will transform into a snake. Once this happens, the Snake Sage Mode will not hesitate to devour them. Perhaps that's one of the reasons we don't see many people achieving Snake Sage Mode. In Naruto, we only see two people who tried to become Snake Sages, Orochimaru and Kabuto. Orochimaru couldn't become a sage. He actually had the potential to become one, but he performed numerous body transfers to extend his life and gain others' powers. The bodies he used were not strong enough to withstand and balance natural energy, so he couldn't make it. As for Kabuto Yakushi, after Orochimaru was defeated, Kabuto absorbed his DNA to gain Orochimaru's strength and knowledge, giving him access to the Sage Mode techniques and knowledge Orochimaru had researched. He also implanted the DNA of the Sound Four into his body, which made him significantly stronger and allowed him to use their special techniques and abilities, including Kimimara's Dead Bone Pulse, Tayuya's sound-based abilities, and other techniques from Jirobo, Kidomaru, and Sakon by Yukon. Typically, to gather natural energy, one must remain completely still. This helps them merge with nature and balance natural energy with their own chakra. However, Kabuto used Jugo's DNA to enhance his abilities, allowing him to fight and continuously absorb natural energy at the same time. When in Snake Sage mode, Kabuto underwent significant physical changes, such as growing 4 horns, developing markings around his eyes, and forming a protective eye membrane, Brill, which made him immune to genjutsu and visual attacks. Kabuto used Snake Sage mode to greatly enhance his strength and combat abilities, leading to a tough battle with Itachi and Sasuke. At that point, he was no longer the average ninja he once was. In Boruto, we see another character capable of using Snake Sage mode, Mitsuki, an artificial human created from Orochimaru's DNA. Unlike traditional Sage mode users who learn under the guidance of sages and gather natural energy through meditation, Mitsuki doesn't follow this path. Instead, Mitsuki can use Sage mode thanks to the Sage transformation technique, which is derived from Jugo's Kekkei Genkai. Orochimaru forced Mitsuki into Sage mode through numerous experiments, erasing Mitsuki's memories after each failed attempt. Eventually, Mitsuki succeeded in the 6th attempt, driven by emotional pressure. Wood Sage mode. There aren't many ninjas who can use Sage mode, and most of them learn it from either the Great Toad Sage or the White Snake Sage, with each type having different effects on the user's body. But Hashirama is different. Hashirama truly stands out as something special in the Naruto series. He isn't known to have learned Sage mode from anyone. When Hashirama uses Sage mode, his appearance changes in a unique way that doesn't resemble a toad or a snake. He has dark red markings around his eyes that extend to his ears, and a round mark on his forehead with a dot in the center. Because of this, Hashirama's Sage mode seems to come from an entirely different source, and the author, Kishimoto, never bothers to explain it. This leads to the theory that Hashirama might have discovered his own Sage mode, figuring out how to perfectly balance natural energy with his chakra, and reaching a level of mastery no one else could achieve. When using this form, Hashirama can infuse Sage chakra into his wood release techniques, greatly enhancing their power. This allows him to create many wood clones while maintaining a barrier at Kaja level, whereas Hashirama Senju could only create 2 clones. Hashirama's Sage mode still requires him to limit his movements to absorb natural energy. However, with his abilities, Hashirama can enter this state instantly, meaning his absorption speed far surpasses that of Jiraiya, Naruto, and even Minato. Additionally, the amount of chakra Hashirama absorbs is immense. All of his jutsu in Sage mode are upgraded to an entirely different level. For example, his 5-fold Rashomon, or the massive wooden statue he creates during his 1,000-armed cannon technique, is many times larger, all without losing his Sage mode. Tailed Beast Sage mode. Naruto Uzumaki activates Tailed Beast Sage mode by combining his Sage mode with Tailed Beast mode. After overcoming their initial hostility and building a trusting relationship, Naruto and Kurama became allies. Naruto could freely access the Nine Tails chakra without any obstacles. Before that, Kurama often tried to take over Naruto's body, or made it difficult for him to control the chakra. Afterward, Naruto was able to combine Sage mode with Tailed Beast mode. In this state, Naruto's eyes show a mix of Sage mode traits, orange eyes with a cross-shaped pupil, and Tailed Beast mode traits, red eyes with a vertical slit pupil. Maintaining Sage mode isn't easy since it requires meditation and staying still. However, Naruto can easily sustain Tailed Beast Sage mode because he has Kurama inside him. Kurama, staying within Naruto's body, plays a crucial role in helping him balance natural energy and Tailed Beast chakra. Thanks to this cooperation, Naruto can smoothly switch between modes and maintain his powerful state throughout battles. Since he can use both forms at the same time, Naruto gains the benefits of both, and all of his abilities are significantly enhanced. Naruto can even add Sage mode to his Rasengan and Tailed Beast Bomb to work with Sasuke to attack Obito when he was the Ten Tails Jinchuriki. Interestingly, Minato can also use Sage techniques, and he has half of Kurama inside him. Therefore, in theory, Minato could also enter this mode. However, we never had the chance to see him do that, and if he did, he would probably be extremely strong. 6 Paths Sage Mode. This is an extremely powerful Sage Mode. In fact, it's the strongest mode. To acquire the 6 Paths Sage Mode, you don't need to achieve regular Sage Mode first. You simply need to be granted this power by Hagoromo. Sounds easy, but not everyone gets the chance to meet him. Hagoromo only grants this mode to those he trusts to have a strong belief in humanity. Before Naruto, he gave this power to Ashura, his son. The true strength of 6 Path Sage Mode lies in greatly enhancing Sage abilities, boosting your power, speed, endurance, and reflexes to extraordinary levels. Specifically, after gaining this state, Naruto developed the ability to sense chakra and invisible entities, like the shadows in Madara's limbo world. Naruto could also create and control truth-seeking balls, which are orbs of 6 Paths chakra capable of destroying anything they touch. At the time Naruto gained 6 Paths Sage Mode, he could borrow chakra from all the tailed beasts. We saw him use their unique abilities, like Shukaku's Magnet Release, Matatabi's Blue Fire Release, Isobu's Water Release, Son Goku's Lava Release, and many others. With this mode, Naruto used the power of Yin-Yang Release to heal Guy's body. Yin-Yang Release allowed Naruto to create and control objects, as well as heal severe injuries. Thanks to this power, Naruto saved Guy and prevented his certain death. Naruto described this power as something that lets him do anything. Yes, he could even fly. In short, with this mode, his power could be considered godlike. Cursed Seals. This isn't exactly a Sage Mode, but it deserves mention in this video because Orochimaru developed the Cursed Seal by combining his chakra with the cells of Jugo, who has the ability to absorb natural energy and transform his body to suit combat situations. Orochimaru can apply this Cursed Seal to others, but similar to how not everyone can learn Sage techniques, many people died when Orochimaru placed the seal on them. Only about 10% of those who received Orochimaru's seal survived. Those who weren't compatible with the seal would either die immediately or go through extreme pain before dying. The first person to survive after being marked by Orochimaru was Anko Mitarashi. She was one of the first 10 subjects Orochimaru experimented on with the Cursed Seal of Heaven, and she was the only one who survived the process. Since Jugo naturally has the ability to absorb senjutsu energy, those with the Cursed Seal don't need to meditate to gather natural energy. They simply need to release the seal. When activated, a pattern spreads across the user's body. The more the seal is released, meaning the more power they use, the more the pattern spreads. This is called the first level transformation, and in this state, the user gains enhanced physical abilities and, of course, a larger chakra pool. However, the level of enhancement isn't as strong as with most Sage modes. There are 2 types of Cursed Seals, the Cursed Seal of Heaven and the Cursed Seal of Earth. However, we mostly see the Cursed Seal of Heaven because Kimimaro is the only character in the story who ever possessed the Earth version, and fundamentally, their mechanisms are the same. The Cursed Seal enhances the user's power, but its true strength lies in the second level transformation. At this level, the user undergoes a significant transformation in both appearance and strength. Interestingly, the user's appearance changes and often resembles an animal. For example, Sasuke Uchiha in level 2 has dark gray skin, longer hair, and a pair of bat-like wings growing from his back. Kimimaro, in his second level, transforms into a dinosaur-like form with a tail and large bones protruding from his skin. This suggests that it's quite similar to an imperfect Sage transformation. The power of this level is undeniable. Despite eventually losing, all the Sound 4 members gave the Konoha ninja team a tough fight during the mission to rescue Sasuke. Sasuke, with this power, even managed to defeat Deidara, an S-rank ninja from the Akatsuki. Honestly, back then, Sasuke's raw power wasn't even that strong. But don't forget, these seals are created from Jugo's blood. And if you recall what happens to Jugo when he absorbs too much senjutsu chakra, he turns into a giant monster, losing consciousness and unable to distinguish friend from foe, wanting to kill everything around him. So, staying in the second level transformation for too long can corrode the user's mind, driving them insane and turning them into monsters. However, even if you don't stay in the second level transformation longer than necessary, using the cursed seal still weakens your mind. This is because the cursed seal gives you additional chakra from Orochimaru. Eventually, using this seal damages your consciousness and self-control, making you more susceptible to Orochimaru's commands. So, when someone craves power, Orochimaru finds it easier to control them. And given how persistent he is, this cursed seal is extremely hard to remove, because it carries both the power and will of Orochimaru. That's why, instead of completely removing it, skilled ninjas like Kakashi Hatake and the third Hokage often choose to seal or suppress the cursed seal to prevent its influence. Throughout the series, the cursed seal was fully removed only twice. The first time was when Itachi forced the Orochimaru part out of Sasuke and sealed it using the Totsuka blade. The second time was when Sasuke used the evil releasing method, a technique directly opposite to the evil sealing method, to pull Orochimaru out from Anko's seal. One interesting point I want to mention is that Orochimaru can place cursed seals on others by biting their necks. These seals temporarily bind the target immediately upon application, spreading across their body to restrict movement. If they are compatible with Orochimaru's cursed seal and survive, it means they are also compatible with Jugo. This allows Jugo to implant his flesh and chakra into their body. In the battle between Sasuke and Killer Bee, Sasuke was severely injured, with his chest torn open, exposing his ribs, and Jugo saved him this way. As for Mitsuki, Orochimaru placed a powerful curse seal on his heart, causing him to self-destruct if anyone tries to decipher his artificial body's structure. Sage Transformation. When we talk about the evolution of Sage Mode, we have to start with the most basic version introduced in the story, the Sage Transformation used by the Jugo clan. This is the wildest and most primitive way of using natural energy. You can think of it like an early beta version that isn't fully developed yet. When someone from Jugo's clan activates this power, their body changes in a way that makes them look like a monster. Their eyes turn yellow with black sclera, their skin changes color, their hair grows longer, and sometimes even changes color too. But that creepy transformation also gives them real power. Their skin becomes super tough, so they don't get hurt easily. They can turn parts of their body into weapons, grow shields to protect themselves, or even make things that work like, you see, guns. It's kind of like the Asura path from the Six Paths techniques, high-tech ninja stuff that feels like science fiction, but it's actually pure, raw, natural energy. Physically, this transformation boosts everything. Strength, speed, durability, reflexes, all of it gets stronger. That's exactly why Orochimaru got obsessed with studying it. He saw huge potential in this wild natural power. But big power always comes with a big cost. The Sage Transformation can make the user go completely berserk. They lose control and can become violent, attacking anyone, friend or enemy. Jugo is the perfect example. He can turn into a bloodthirsty killer in just seconds. Sage Transformation might be wild and dangerous, but let's be real, it's crazy strong. This was like the very first blueprint for using natural energy. Even though it's not perfect, it already showed massive potential. After seeing how powerful and wild Sage Transformation could be, Orochimaru did what he does best: take something dangerous and turn it into something even more dangerous, but controllable. That's how he created Cursed Seal. Instead of relying on Jugo's bloodline, Orochimaru figured out a way to package natural energy into a special seal that could be used on normal ninja. He took enzymes from Jugo's body fluids, mixed them with his own chakra, and then implanted them into others using a bite. Sounds creepy, yeah, but this was a huge breakthrough in making Sage Mode more accessible. But here's the catch: only 10% survived the process. That number is brutal. But to Orochimaru, it was just the necessary cost to create the perfect warrior. And those who did survive were rewarded with incredible power. And from this, we got Cursed Seal Level 1. When someone activates Cursed Seal Level 1, their normal chakra is mixed with senjutsu chakra, which is way more powerful. It can boost their chakra levels by 10 times or even more. That's not just hype. We saw it with our own eyes when Sasuke activated the seal. He suddenly became a serious threat, nearly taking out the Sound Ninja team during the Chunin exams. Black markings spread across the user's body like glowing cracks. How far they spread depends on the person's willpower. Strength, speed, durability, everything gets a big boost. The cool part? Unlike the Wild Sage transformation from Jugo's clan, users of this seal can initially control how much power they use. Well, that's a major upgrade, but there's no such thing as free power. The seal comes with a dangerous hidden cost. It slowly messes with the user's mind, breaking them down until they basically become a slave to Orochimaru. Sasuke is the perfect example. The seal didn't just give him strength, it also pushed his darkest desires to the surface. At first, using the cursed seal hurts a lot. The first few times someone activates it, they feel like their body is being ripped apart from the inside. Only after getting used to it can they start using the seal without that crazy pain. Compared to the Wild Sage transformation, Cursed Seal Level 1 is way more refined. Orochimaru removed all the biological limits, so anyone can use natural energy, not just people from Jugo's clan. The seal also gives the user a backup chakra supply they can use strategically, instead of random power surges, like with Jugo. And here's the scary part, you can't really remove the seal. Even someone as skilled as Kakashi could only seal it, not erase it completely. Anko had the mark for years after leaving Orochimaru, and it still stayed on her. That shows just how long-lasting and dangerous Orochimaru's invention really is. And guess what? This is just level 1. It's the baby form of the cursed power. With Cursed Seal Level 2, things get way more intense. That's when the line between human and monster starts to completely blur. Cursed Seal Level 2. If Cursed Seal Level 1 is like a cool demo, then Level 2 is the full director's cut. Creepy, intense, and made for those who are crazy enough to use it. When someone activates Level 2, it's not just black markings anymore. Their whole body completely transforms. Their eyes turn yellow with black sclera. Their skin changes color. Their hair grows longer, and, most noticeably, they grow weird things like wings, horns, or bone spikes. Sound familiar? Yeah, it looks a lot like Jugo's transformation. Take Sasuke, for example. With those big bat wings and long dark hair, he looks like a demon straight out of hell. Or Kimimaro. He becomes a walking bone weapon, with spikes and bones coming out from anywhere on his body. Each person's transformation is different, based on their unique curse mark design. But there's one thing in common. They all look like animals. Sound familiar again? Well, you can only learn real Sage Mode by training in the homes of animal clans. So, when Sound Ninja and Sasuke transform into animal-like forms, that's not just a coincidence. That's Orochimaru's twisted version of Sage Mode. To unlock Level 2, the user has to go through a crazy dangerous process. Orochimaru created a pill called the Mind Awakening Pill, then pushed the person to the edge of death so their body would adapt to the transformation. Sounds like some wild science experiment? Yeah, because that's exactly what it is, and the survival rate is not great. But if someone survives, they get a huge power boost, way beyond Level 1. The senjutsu chakra turns them into full-on killing machines. See, even the Sound 4, who aren't exactly geniuses or high-tier fighters, nearly beat the entire Sasuke retrieval squad once they activated Level 2. Now imagine what happens when someone really strong uses it. Sasuke could fly with bat wings, summon snakes from his arms, and hit with a super-powered Chidori. Kimimaro? He turned every inch of his body into a deadly weapon. Pure bone armor, spikes, swords, you name it. What's crazy is that skilled users could control which parts of their body got transformed. Like, Sasuke could grow wings just to fly, and Kimimaro could tweak his body however he wanted. That shows how much control the second stage of the curse mark gave. With this power, Sasuke was able to go head-to-head with an S-rank ninja, and Kimimaro nearly took down both Gaara and Rock Lee by himself. Now, imagine if this curse mark had been given to even stronger characters, or just ones who got more screen time. The Naruto power system might have needed a serious rebalance. But, as always, there's a cost. Using Level 2 for too long starts to mess with your mind. The seal becomes more synced with Orochimaru's will, and the user becomes easier to control. Bit by bit, they lose themselves. That leads us to a big question. Is there another way to use natural energy without losing yourself? Yes, there is. Through training and meditation, where power comes from harmony with nature, not from a cursed mark that eats you alive. Imperfect Sage Mode. After seeing all the dangerous stuff Orochimaru was doing, we finally get to see the official way of using natural energy. Jiraiya's early Sage Mode was a major turning point. It moved away from being controlled by someone else, and toward truly connecting with nature. Unlike Orochimaru's shortcut method, Jiraiya took the hard, but correct, path. He learned how to absorb natural energy directly from nature itself. Now, we saw someone train for Sage Mode the proper way, under the guidance of ancient Toad sages. But it wasn't easy. This kind of training needs a ton of patience and self-control, and not everyone has that. Jiraiya had to learn to balance 3 types of energy: physical chakra, mental chakra, and natural energy. Sounds simple, but it's so tough that even Jiraiya couldn't fully master it. When he used this early version of Sage Mode, Jiraiya turned into a completely different fighter. His eyes changed into toad-like gold with horizontal pupils, his nose got warty, and he grew webbing on his hands and feet. His look had animal features, kinda like Curse Mark Level 2, but way more refined and under control. And of course, much more powerful. In his Imperfect Sage Mode, Jiraiya could use many crazy powerful jutsu. He could fire a giant Rasengan, shoot out thousands of sharp needles from his body, using his hair, or Sage Art, Goemon. These are techniques that the Curse Mark simply couldn't do. On top of that, his body changes gave him amazing speed and agility, making him super hard to hit. The biggest strength of Jiraiya's early Sage Mode is that it's pure and clean. No Orochimaru whispering in your brain, no risk of losing your mind, just natural power. Specially, Sage Mode users gain sensory powers. But still, Jiraiya didn't have perfect Sage Mode. One of the biggest problems was that he needed time to charge up natural energy. While someone like Sasuke could instantly activate his curse mark, Jiraiya had to stand still for a bit to gather energy, which can be a huge weakness in a real fight. That's why he needed the 2 Elder Toads, Fukasaku and Shima, to sit on his shoulders. They gathered natural energy for him during battle, so he could stay in Sage Mode longer without stopping. Even with its flaws, Jiraiya's version of Sage Mode proved that the traditional path is the right one, because it's safe and long-lasting. His battle with pain showed both the strength and the limits of his Sage Mode. For a short time, he fought like a god, and it also raised a big question. What if someone could master Sage Mode perfectly? No weird animal changes, no outside help, perfect energy control. How powerful would that be? The answer is found in Perfect Sage Mode, used by Naruto and Minato. Perfect Sage Mode. The biggest difference with Perfect Sage Mode is complete harmony with nature. Jiraiya's 2 students, Minato and Naruto, managed to achieve this. It sounds easy, but in reality, Naruto almost turned to stone several times while training for it. Unlike Jiraiya's weird toad-like look, Perfect Sage Mode makes Minato and Naruto look serious and flawless. Besides the glowing rings around their eyes and horizontal pupils, none of their bodies look like toads at all. When it comes to power, Perfect Sage Mode is on a whole new level. It boosts all the user's stats, raw strength, speed, chakra amount. And it also makes all their jutsu way stronger and bigger. Naruto can create a giant Rasen Shuriken that spins super fast and throw it at enemies. Before, this jutsu was considered forbidden, but after getting Perfect Sage Mode, Naruto can basically spam it like it's nothing. It's not a forbidden technique for him anymore. He also gains amazing sensory powers, even better than top sensor ninjas. Naruto can sense the chakra of every single person around him. His fight with pain proved this clearly. Seriously, without Sage Mode, could he even stand a chance against pain? And when we talk about Sage Mode, we have to mention Hashirama. He's truly a legend in the Naruto world. We don't know exactly where he learned Sage Mode, nobody knows. But the changes on his face don't look like any animal. They remind us more of the sun. He can use Sage Mode combined with Wood Release to turn the battlefield into his own playground. He spams huge crazy jutsu, fights Madara and the Ninetales, and shows off some of the most epic power flexes ever seen. Another big advantage is how fast he can activate Sage Mode. While Jiraiya, Naruto, and Minato need a long time to get ready, Hashirama can enter Sage Mode in just a few seconds. This gives him a huge tactical edge, especially in fast, intense fights. Overall, training to reach this level is super hard. Not everyone can do what Naruto or Hashirama did. Even Orochimaru, with all his talent, never learned Sage Mode because his body wasn't strong enough. However, one weakness is that Sage Mode can't last forever. Basically, you gather a certain amount of natural energy, use it up, then have to stay still to collect more. Luckily, Jiraiya had the two great toads helping him, so he could stay in Sage Mode longer. Perfect Sage Mode is the peak of traditional senjutsu. Hashirama is the absolute master, while Naruto shows how the new generation can surpass the old. But even with this perfect form, there's still a big question. Is this really the ultimate limit? Numbers. Sage Mode plus Ninetales, Chakra. After mastering traditional Sage Mode, Naruto once again showed that he was born to break the rules. He had half of the Ninetales inside him, and surprisingly, its chakra could mix perfectly with natural energy, pushing Sage Mode to an even higher level. In this new form, Naruto's eyes have both fox and toad features. What really sets this form apart is that Kurama can help gather natural energy. That was a total shock. Who would have thought a tailed beast could do that? Now, Naruto doesn't have to balance all the energy by himself. He's got a powerful partner doing it with him. This means he can stay in Sage Mode for much longer. This was a total game changer. Before, Naruto had to be careful not to run out of senjutsu chakra. But now, he can go all out without holding back. We're talking about an Uzumaki, the strongest tailed beast, and nature energy all in one. That combo lets Naruto use techniques on a scale nobody even dreamed of before. And get this, only natural chakra can stand up to the truth-seeking orbs, used by people like Jugo. Those orbs are made from pure advanced chakra that includes all 5 nature types, plus yin and yang. The only thing that can fight them off is natural energy, which doesn't belong to any of those types. Finally, the allied ninja force stood a chance to fight Jugo. Sage Mode plus Ninetales chakra is the peak of normal power. Naruto took the fusion of tailed beast chakra and natural energy as far as it could possibly go. But when he started facing god-tier enemies, like Madara and Kaguya, even this power had its limits. That's when a new kind of power had to rise. 6 Paths, Sage Mode. Now we've reached the absolute peak of Sage Mode, something so epic that even hardcore Naruto fans were left speechless the first time they saw it. 6 Paths, Sage Mode. Unlike the earlier stages of Sage Mode, this form isn't something Naruto got through hard training or risky experiments. Nope. This was a divine gift from Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the Sage of 6 Paths himself, the ancestor of all ninja. The most special thing about this power, Naruto doesn't just have Kurama's chakra anymore. He now carries a piece of chakra from all 9-tailed beasts. This is the first time in history someone has done that without becoming the 10 Tails Jinchuriki. Now, he can float in midair, something that only godlike beings could do before. More than that, he could even heal Kakashi's eye and keep Guy alive after opening the 8th gate. Somehow, it's similar to the controlling life and death ability of the Rinnegan, and if before, Naruto was known for Rasengan, Rasen Shuriken, and the Tailed Beast Bomb, now he's got something straight up godly. Truth-seeking orbs, those floating black balls that can destroy anything they touch. These aren't just ninja techniques anymore. They're divine weapons. Even Naruto's sensing powers also hit a new level. He could sense the invisible limbo clones used by Madara, something not even the Sharingan or Byakugan could see. Only the Rinnegan could see them, but Naruto didn't need that. He just punched them straight up. Far beyond that, we got all kinds of wild Rasen Shuriken and Tailed Beast combos, like Sage Art, Super Tailed Beast Rasen Shuriken, and Six Paths, Ultra Big Ball Rasen Shuriken. And of course, with the blessing from the Sage of Six Paths, Naruto and Sasuke pulled off Six Paths Chibaku Tensei, sealing Kaguya away by creating a whole new moon-like planet. This form was Naruto's ultimate peak in the original series. But the story didn't end there. In Boruto, we saw Baryon Mode, a form strong enough to fight Ishiki Otsutsuki, one of the most overpowered villains ever. That shows Naruto's power journey might not even be over yet. What a legendary evolution, right? From prankster ninja to god-level warrior. Total inspiration. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Naruto Uzumaki, with his perfected Sage Mode, became an incredibly powerful warrior. After Jiraiya's death, Naruto learned the Sage Mode technique from Fukasaku at Mount Myoboku, which helped him surpass his personal limits. Sage Mode is a special power that not only enhances strength, but also provides abilities that few can achieve. Sage Mode grants Naruto high endurance, allowing him to fall off a cliff without sustaining any injuries. With Sage Jutsu Chakra, Naruto was able to lift a giant frog statue, showcasing the extraordinary strength he gained from Sage Mode. In this state, he could easily throw Kurama into the air, and, during his fight with Pain, effortlessly toss aside one of Pain's summons, the one that looked like a rhino. While in Sage Mode, Naruto can use natural energy to create senjutsu chakra,